Yes, folks, hello, welcome to Mod Extra Games and Collectibles. Once again, I'm Chris, this is my channel. Absolute pleasure to have you with me here today for another instalment of
Listen to Your Friend Chris,
in which I ask you to listen to me, your friend Chris, talk about my life and times as an adult collector and just share some commentary over some stuff that's caught my eye this week. So stick around, we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. McFarlane Toys, Marvel Legends, Ramen Toys, whatever else I've got on my list, G.I. Joe Classified, a little bit of Neca, you name it, we're going to talk about it today. So stick around, you'll get some thoughts, and as I'm going along, I invite you to drop down to the comments down below and share your thoughts too. All right, let's get into it. Okay, just a quick rundown for those who are new around these parts. The premise of these videos are very, very simple. I have this little whiteboard here that I keep on my iPad, and then through the course of a week, as I'm prowling the socials, Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, the various Discord servers that I belong to, etc., etc. When somebody catches my eye, I grab the picture, drop it on this whiteboard, and then get in front of a hot camera at some point through the course of the week and share my thoughts on those things with you. Regular viewers around these parts will notice that I'm running a little bit late this week. You can possibly tell by the sound of my voice and the more nasal tone of my voice this time around that I've been a little bit under the weather this week, so I'm just running a bit late because I waited until I had a bit more energy to do it. I like to be energetic and dynamic. So let's get into it and let's talk about a few things that I've dropped on my whiteboard, shall we? Okay, well, one big piece of news was these two pictures here, some leaked photos of some Mad Marauders in the G.I. Joe Classified series line, which I know will be of interest to a number of my viewers, as a load of the Joe Bros from the Discord server come and hang out around these parts. And as you can see, the two leaked photos included a Mad Marauders Sergeant Slaughter and included a Mad Marauders 2-pack, which had Lowlight and Spirit Iron Knife in it. Although, interestingly enough, Spirit Iron Knife there is accompanied by a different bird companion, Nile, not Freedom, which is curious to me. Now, I'm not wildly familiar with the Mad Marauders subline. By the time they came around in the really late 80s, or certainly the early 90s, what was it, like 89, 1990, that the Mad Marauders were about. I'd kind of moved on to other things in my youth at that point then, and so I'm not so familiar with it, but I did go and have a look on yojo.com, and the version 2 Mad Marauders Spirit does appear to have Freedom in the vintage 80s version of the figure. So I don't know who Niall is. If anyone does, then please do drop in the comments down below. Educate me, educate your fellow Joe Bros who are clueless around that. But they're certainly interesting. They're easy passes for me, to be honest. Regular viewers around these parts will know that I've said in the past that I'm not really one for duplicating figures. It would have to be something significant, different in a way that suits my collecting style. So the Crimson Guards are a great example. One with the blast masks, one with the chrome mask, and then I'm using one as kind of like the head Crimson Guard do. Anyway, you know what I mean? I don't like repeat figures, and I tend to go for the paint job that just appeals to me the most. And I have a Sergeant Slaughter, I have a Lowlight, I have a Spirit Iron Knife. I like the mainline colour schemes, and these aren't adding enough value for me to jump over. Although I can see in the Sergeant Slaughter packet there that there's a few extra bits and bobs to catch your eye, to turn your head a bit, because he's got some boxing gloves and what looks like some weightlifting dumbbell type things there, which I must admit peeves me a touch, because I think the mainline one should have the better selection of stuff, and the sublines, the repaint sublines should be a little less attractive, like the Tiger Force double pack we saw of Roadblock and Tripwire, where it's reduced a little bit, but there you go. I'm not sure Lowlight comes with the same loadout as well, just sort of looking there. Does he, doesn't he? I can't tell. These pictures are really blurry, aren't they? I have to apologise to the original source as well, as to where these came from. They went round the G.I. Joe Classified fan social stuff like wildfire, and I couldn't kind of find my way back to the original source. These hit my radar on the Discord server that I belong to. Big shout out to my Joe Bros over there. And then when I went over to Instagram, they were everywhere on Instagram too. So I don't really know where the original source was, and apologies that I can't credit appropriately. Perhaps they wouldn't want me to if they're leaking photos. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. Easy pass for me. Not particularly interested in repaints of these three characters, but somebody out there might be. So there you go. All right, next on the list, and speaking of repaints, I saw knocking around on the Neca side of things that they are doing a kind of retro card back release of the Dungeons & Dragons Strongheart figure. I have the original mainline release. Here he is. He takes pride of place on the shelf over there by my fantasy novels. But if we zoom in there, we can see that it's a kind of dulled down, more retro style repaint of the figure. So the one I've got there has got, I mean, the paint application work on there is exceptional. It's painted up, dry brushed up, looks really just popping, shelf presence popping, you know what I mean? Whereas this one is going for a more kind of nostalgic callback to the original kind of 1980s plasticky toy look and feel, and that's intentional. They've called that out. I saw it on their Instagram post that is the case. That's also one of the reasons why it's being mounted on a kind of blister pack retro card back style design. So it's coming with less in terms of the paint application quality, but that's also reflected in the price. So I spent like $39.99 on the original mainline one, and this one is $29.99. It also comes with a smaller accessory selection. You just get the sword, the dagger, and the sword sheath, whereas my Strongheart had his hammer and his shield as well. So the cost reduction also is reflected in the reduced accessory selection. But if your attraction to this line is about that nostalgic retro memory of the OG figures, I've not actually put it here, but in the promo shots there was a promo picture with Warduke in it as well, in the same sort of paint style, this more nostalgic retro paint style. So that's certainly interesting. And if you were priced out of that original Neca Strongheart, then perhaps this one with a good $10 cost reduction, and you're less fussed about the paint applications and the missing accessories, could be one for you. But what I will tell you, by all means, go back and watch my review of the mainline one, but these are really, really greatly sculpted figures. I was very impressed, been very happy with them. They are wonderful display pieces, these Dungeons & Dragons Neca ones, and I think, looking it over, that even with the reduced kind of paint application quality and less attention to detail in that space, this is still an exceptionally well sculpted figure, so it might catch a few people's eyes, and if it does, well, there you go, available for pre-order soon or whatever, usual routine. Go check out Neca's webpage. I'm sure there'll be more information on there that I'm able to offer. All right, let's take a look at this one next then from Ramen Toys. This was posted up on their Instagram page. This is the latest offering from the Makina Labs subline. Ramen Toys once again skirting the very edges of the shades of grey when it comes to intellectual property licensing laws, because the Makina Labs line is clearly heavily inspired by the old Mask cartoon. This, of course, is Ramen Toys' whole thing. They've got a van on the way, which is the A-Team van. They've got a flaming motor car, which is the Ghost Rider vehicle. The Makina Labs has got the Gull Wing, which is clearly inspired by the Thunderhawk, and then they've got a vehicle on the way called the Great White, which is obviously inspired by Gloria and the Shark, and this is the latest in that line, 1/18 scale Slabby, which is clearly inspired by the Piranha. So it looks good, it looks nice. Ramen Toys, I've heard good things about the quality of their figures. My friends over at the Toy Duo had them on. Had the guy from Ramen Toys on recently, did an interview with him, and he was doing some show and tell with his big van. This is clearly listed on the advert there as 1/18 scale, which is interesting because I'm pretty sure I saw some folks getting into it directly with Ramen Toys on their Instagram page, that the scale of this does not match the scale of the Gullwing or the Great White, which I don't know whether that diminishes interest in this particular product or not, because changing scale sort of mid-line. I mean, that's not to say that they're under any obligation to make every release in the same scale, or you can do the same IP in several different scales. That's what like Skeletron are doing right now, for example. But I did notice that, so that's a curious choice on their part. I don't know if that's got something to do with the engineering on the bike or something, maybe. However, their whole shtick, the whole thing is drawing heavy inspiration from 80s nostalgia that's being under-catered to in the marketplace right now, Mask being one of them, or Brave Star. They've got the whole Top Gun thing that they're doing over at Ramen Toys, the A-Team van and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely on brand and on point. And for folks out there who are Mask fans, who are desperate for something to get their hands on, you could do worse than Ramen Toys for sure. So that caught my eye this week. I'll probably not pick one up, to be fair. I've skipped the Gullwing and the Great White because, as I've said before, I don't have a great deal of room in here to start adding too many big vehicles to the display space and the storage area. But I can absolutely see the appeal. So yeah, there you go. Mass fans, anyone interested? There's something that might be curious to you. I'll pop a link in the description down below. Okay, over to the big boys then. We got Hasbro's Marvel Legends dropping pre-orders this week for 2 new Deadpool sets. There's a reissue of the retro card back X-Force version of the Deadpool character there with the kind of Rob Liefeld style aesthetic. Oh, Rob Liefeld is just, I'm not bothered including it this week, but he's put a preview out of some, is it Bloodstripe figures? I saw some stuff going on about feet size. Anyway, I'm talking about Marvel Legends. So yeah, this is great. This is fine. It's a reissue for anyone who missed it the first time around. A lot of folks, I imagine, a good classic look Deadpool in the original 90s style would be attractive for their displays. It's the engineering's old, obviously. It's got the pinned limbs and what have you. It's one of the older books, but you could do a lot worse. And with the kind of belting on there and stuff as well, it means you can disguise things like the waist swivel a lot better. And it's got lots of cool, interesting sculpted details on there to bring it to life a little bit, a few more dimensions than you sometimes get with a Marvel Legends figure. And he's also kitted out with appropriate kind of accessory selection there with his rifle, his couple of submachine guns, his couple of swords and his pistol. I haven't pre-ordered this but I probably will, because I can't find anywhere pre-ordering it. So it's on the, it's all over the place in North America. Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, Hasbro Pulse Direct. Can't find it over here at all. But I was rooting around and I saw some of our retailers still had them in stock from the first time around. So I'm going to do some investigation to see if there's been any changes, which I don't believe there is because it's a reissue, and perhaps just pick one up. But so there's the X-Force reissue. But then we've also got I don't know what they called this actually, but it's like a Deadpool scooter set with a Deadpool, the dog pool. I don't know what the squirrel's called. I wasn't reading this title at this time to know what the squirrel's called, but his aesthetic obviously a lot more modern, a lot more of the kind of noughties style aesthetic with the heavier boots and the more science fiction style kind of accoutrement. Extra bits all over there. Still kitted out with plenty of stuff. He's got his swords. Got some daggers there. No firearms, which I think is a bit of a shame, but anyone worth their salt's probably got a bits box with a few odds and sods in there that you can pop on your Deadpool figure. But yeah, this is certainly, again, of interest to anyone who missed the scootering Deadpool the first time around. And he's a fun character, fun popular character, so I'm sure there's someone out there who might be interested in a new Deadpool for sure. And you could do a lot worse than this. What I would love is a mashup between the two, but I think I lean more towards the original X-Force 90s aesthetic, much more reflective of the time I was reading X-Men comics as a kid, you know. So there you go, a couple of Marvel Legends were announced this week. And finally, the last thing that caught my eye this week was the McFarlane Toys digital release announcement for 3 figures there. Hal Jordan, a classic Green Lantern, a Batman with a head swap, with a Bruce Wayne head swap, and a classic look Aquaman as well. Now, the gimmick here is the McFarlane Toys Digital. If you buy all 3, you get an NFT digital action figure, the BAF that you can use, which is simply of no interest to me whatsoever, the digital action figures. I saw a few folks out and about on the socials laying into Todd about the digital BAF, actually, about the NFT stuff. And while I'm not adverse to a bit of Todd McFarlane-related criticism of my own, I think regular viewers around these parts will know that. In fact, I'm going to have a whinge about him in a sec. But I'm pretty certain he's not the driving force behind the NFT stuff. I've said this before, that I think the drive in that direction is coming directly from Warner Brothers themselves, because they're doing it with their HRO trading cards at this moment in time, and I saw it on some other stuff, included in like a Steelbook Blu-ray set that I saw knocking around that was a Warner Brothers one. So I think this is perhaps coming from DC Comics / Warner Brothers themselves than it is necessarily from Todd, although he obviously would never say no to squeezing a little more of a buck and a dime out of his fan base for sure. We know that because he's very, very, financially minded, very profit driven, greedy individual. We know that for fact, from his behaviour. Obviously great to see a good classic look Hal Jordan Green Lantern figure in the line. This has been long overdue. I'm worried, though, that it's going to end up in the same situation as the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Wonder Woman. People like me out there desperately trying to hang on and wait for more classic look OG uniform design characters, and then the supply is not up to standard to meet the demand in any way. And it looks like this might be happening again because I noticed a lot of folks complaining online that they went over to Amazon, went over to McFarlane Toys' own website, went over to, I think it was Big Bad Toy Store, only to find that it was sold out already, the Hal Jordan in particular. We've got the classic look Aquaman there too. Possibly a less popular character comparable to the likes of Wonder Woman and Hal Jordan, etc., but nice to see nonetheless. It's all reused book stuff, so I'm sure Todd should be able to churn out bazillions of these to meet the demand, but there seems to be a very strange McFarlane scarcity. And I will say, once again, publicly, for anyone who cares to listen, that here in the UK and on mainland Europe, we are being wildly neglected by McFarlane Toys. I am still waiting for pre-ordered figures that I made from DC Multiverse, McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, that are paid for, all bought and paid for up front last summer, and I know are in the hands of collectors in North America, and they've still not arrived over here. Still waiting for my Catman, still waiting for my Ant-Man, still waiting for my Wonder Woman, which has been delayed once again. I've just got the email the other day saying it's going to be April now. Still waiting for, I didn't get my Christmas Batman in time for Christmas, and that was due to drop in November, and here we are in February, 3 months later. So there's something going on over at McFarlane Toys with their supply chain with regards to production and shipping, distribution, because it is dreadful over here. Really, really difficult. It's getting increasingly harder to stay a collector of the line, particularly when you could argue that really the figures aren't giving us that much exceptional value. They're not like some of the must-haves in the G.I. Joe Classified series space or anything like that comparably. So I told you I'd fit in a whinge about Todd McFarlane because I've pre-ordered the Green Lantern. I pre-ordered it with a very respected independent retailer that I use over here, Props and Replicas, but they are, they keep telling me we don't know what's going on with our McFarlane orders. I've got loads of stuff all bought and paid for. Animal Man, still waiting for Animal Man. Who else? Red Tornado, still not got my Hawkman. Loads of McFarlane figures that I've pre-ordered and have pre-ordered months and months and months and months. It's like worse than Hasbro during the pandemic with McFarlane Toys at the minute. So exciting nonetheless to see a classic look Hal Jordan. Very pleased to see that. A classic look Aquaman. I can definitely see that some folks would be really pleased to have a decent maskless Bruce Wayne. Probably less said about that head sculpt, the better, really. But weighed under with weird gimmicks, weighed under with just generally increasing bad rep with regards to supply chain, quality issues, getting stuff out to people, production levels, meeting standard. That I can understand why people are finding it hard to remain McFarlane Toys collectors really at the minute. Which is a shame because for the price they were, that's the other thing, they're going up in price, which is making them less and less. The value was fine because the price was reflective of that. But as the price goes up and gets inflated by things like weird website exclusives and adding digital baths, folks are going to be increasingly less inclined to pick them up because that's not a 25 quid figure. It's a 20 quid figure, or $19.99, but it's not a $25.99 figure just because you're throwing in a digital bath piece. You know what I mean? So anyway, McFarlane Toys, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Honestly, it sounds like I'm just really neg on McFarlane, and I am salty about them at the moment. I don't think they're treating their UK and Europe customers and fans at all well at this moment in time. But I think there's other issues, isn't there? There's other issues that are making it a little bit more stressful to be a McFarlane Toys collector, and I'm possibly on the verge of cancelling my pre-orders and just saying that's it now, I'm done, which is a shame because I'm a big DC fanboy, you know. But there you go. But yeah, for whatever reason, I find it much more grieving and much more pain-inducing than some of the criticisms I have of, say, Hasbro, for example. Anyway, I'm waffling on. I'm in the weeds. Let's wrap that up there. So that concludes this week's instalment of the
Listen to Your Friend Chris
weekly update vlog podcast thing, whatever you want to call it. I say this every week. If there's anything that you've seen out and about that you think I might be interested in that I haven't spoken about, then please do head down to the comments below, or find me on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. DM me some info. You know, I'm always open to exploring or understanding stuff about new lines that I might be interested in. So if you've got to know me a little bit over the weeks and months of hanging out on this channel, then I'd welcome that. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful week. Enjoy what remains of your weekend, if I get this editing turned around in time. And I'll see you around these parts again for another video sometime soon. All right, folks, take it easy.